So Resident Evil Requiem. Oh my god, I can't pronounce Requiem properly. That's just a weird, feels like a tongue twister. Um, that just came out last week, and already I think it's broken records, and I think it's quickly become one of the most popular games on Steam, which is pretty insane. It's become one of the most played games, one of the few games that have had such a high peak over a short span, and it's obviously been reviewed incredibly well. And the funny thing is that there's been so many Resident Evil games, and the fact that they're still producing quality games is just insane to me. Like the fact that we're here after so many games and they're still making bangers. Like clearly Capcom, the company making the games, really knows what they want to do with the franchise compared to some of the other companies and the way they've been treating their own IPs. So with the Resident Evil, if you can see here the Steam charts, just currently, right? It's 2 a.m. in the morning, right, on a Tuesday, and we have 125,000 people playing. At all time peak, this was at 344,000 people, right? So this is well above some of these other online multiplayer games as well, which is just hilarious in a way. So if we just look at the Steam charts right now and what people are currently playing, so this currently has more people playing it than even Arc Raiders, which is kind of insane, right? So remember, this is a single player game. So this is a solely single player horror game, and we're beating big online multiplayer games. Now, considering there isn't a whole lot of new online multiplayer games besides like Arc and some of the other games have received updates, which kind of keep them up to date, like Apex. Which also Apex is kind of crazy to me how that's kept such a high player count. So Apex is just killing it so far. I'm not too sure if they've gotten a new update recently, like a super recent update, which is why they currently have so many people. But it is crazy to see that it's been a few days. You expect people to either have already completed the game or have already watched a streamer play the game, um, or the ones that are really excited about it would have already sort of gotten their hands on the game. But even a few days after the game's release, we still have that many people currently playing it, a fully single player game. So they really are killing it, and they did a great job with the story, right? So they did a great job with the story, with the experience of the entire sort of basically the whole point of the game is that they're two characters. One is a recurring character within the Resident Evil franchise. So that's uh Leon Kennedy. I think that's what his name. I haven't personally played the Resident Evil games, but I've watched other people play them, so I know quite a little bit about some of the characters and the lore. And there's a new character introduced as well. Um, right. So those two characters. Here, one second. I kind of want to just bring up some of the gameplay. So just the gameplay and how that kind of works with the two characters, right? There's already whenever you can always count on YouTube for people to post entire walkthroughs of games that have just come out. I saw a walkthrough of like a game that's like literally 100 hours long, like Baldur's Gate 3. Someone had the entire a walkthrough of the game. Respects to those people for taking their time to post everything, record all the footage. Um, but yeah, let's see here. Sorry, one second. This gameplay looks kind of okay. Obviously, no spoilers if you guys are planning to play it. But you can see like so. There's obviously a character third person view, which you can also make first person. And this character can essentially, he's more combative. So he has weapons that he can fire and he's killing zombies, things like that. And then you have the other character, which is this character named Grace. And she's sort of just, um, she's kind of taking the horror element of the game. So basically, there's jump scares, things like that. And so like it kind of balances those two characters out, but it does such a good job of balancing both those characters out and also having a cohesive story on top of the gameplay. So they did such a crazy job. And the fact that they did so much marketing for this game, like this game was on every presentation, advertisement. It was crazy how much they're advertising this game. So they must have spent a lot of money in the marketing, like a lot. Like I kind of want to know what the numbers are. Just what they what their marketing budget was because clearly they invested so much money and it clearly paid off. Like I'm sure they made their money back. And hopefully the same people who worked on this game, which I don't exactly recall who worked on this game, but if they continue for the next game, that game is going to be just as good, if not better. And I think there's a possibility there's going to be some continuation from this game to the next, just like they always do the Resident Evil, or at least some of them, not all of them. I think there's going to be a great, they're going to make a great game moving forward. But yeah, definitely, this one is definitely want to check out for. One issue with the game, you can just see here, this is a full walkthrough of the game, right? And this guy finished it in 9 hours and a half. Now there are different difficulty settings. So the higher the difficulty, you might have to repeat some missions, some levels. So there's always that issue, which might prolong your game or make it shorter. But remember, this is a full price game. So this is a $70 to $80 game. And they are charging, or sorry, that's how much they're charging. And it's only 8 to 9 hours long, right? And there was a lot of criticism recently about some of the Nintendo games and them being, at least in Canada, they're $100. I don't know what's going on with my voice here. Randomly just start having voice issues. $100 game, which has so specific number of hours. So a lot of people are like, hey, like they're overcharging for these games. Clearly there's enough gameplay. There was that issue with Metroid 4, which was an example of a Nintendo game, which was like 10 hours, 12 hours long. They're charging $100 Canadian for that, which is absurd. And then you have this game, which once again, they're charging full, at least, PS5, Xbox standard prices. And the game's only about 10 to 12 hours long. So it is a pretty short game for the amount that they're charging for it. They might definitely add updates. So there was like a multiplayer mode for Resident Evil. So that's something that they might go on to add, which would definitely, provide some additional content to what you are paying for. So, but yeah, great story, great narrative. I would personally pick this up when it goes on a bit of a sale because it is definitely, I would say, for this year, it is definitely a game of the year contender. There are already games now, which I think are already so great. We're only 2 months into the year, and there's already been bangers. Last year was an incredible year for games, right? There were so many games that the competition was so tight, even at the Game Awards, right? There were some games that were so good, yet they weren't nominated for some of the categories. And even if they were, obviously Expedition 33 just swept everything, right? Like it just swept everything. So the fact that there are good games that are continuing this year as well, and there's still so many to come, but this game definitely is up there. And that sort of brings us on to some of the other games that we're going to discuss as well that apparently also look like contenders for the Game Awards, or sorry, Game of the Year. Neo 3, I believe, which I haven't personally played. It's one of the typical Soulsborne style games. That looks to be a contender, right? The only issue is it has a very niche community of people, or at least the hardcore type of Soulsborne people that play those games, right? So the Neo games are even a smaller segment of that population of people who would play that kind of game. So it really just depends on what people are sort of looking for with those games. Um, but I did hear Neo 3 did beat a lot of sales, or beat out the previous game's sales. So I think they're definitely going to make a fourth one, fifth one, and whatnot. Um, but that's also a contender for Game of the Year. And it's only, like I said, only 2 months into the year, and we're already getting bangers after bangers.